Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Pikmin 2. In the last episode we explored the Hall of Beasts, we gathered a fair few more purple Pikmin, and we gathered, you'll see in the bottom right, the treasure detector, which is the most incredibly useful thing here. I was hoping there'd be ultra spicy sprays ready there. Well, the berries, but they aren't there yet. But we have an ultra spicy spray anyway. What I want to do this episode is explore another cave here in the Awakening Wood. So you'll notice the treasure detector is detecting that thing up there. We can't get it yet. But what we can do is use our Pikmin to... We need 200 Pikmin, but they only weigh as much as 10 each. So we can use them to break through here. And this lets us, well, first off, take on this cloaking Baronet very easily. You can see how easily with purple Pikmin you can just stun lock enemies. It's wonderful. Terrible, but wonderful. And here we are straight away to the cave I wanted to get to. That was nice and effective. Astounding. My metal detectors are reacting violently. What could be down below? If you find trouble below, press the plus to contact me and press right on the radar screen. The exploration pod will drop its loot to make room to carry you, Louis, and the Pikmin to safety. So that's worth knowing. If you fail to get to the end of a dungeon and you just want to bail, you'll get your Pikmin out successfully, but you will lose any treasure you got on the way down. There's also this gate here, which has got some nasty nonsense coming off it, and indeed, if we chuck a Pikmin on it... Oh, I really thought it would have a cutscene explaining that, but it doesn't. The Pikmin got poisoned, and we saved it from poison with a whistle, but you can't rely on that. This is White Flower Garden. You'll notice it has two hazards marked at the top underneath the name, fire and poison, which is on that gate there. We don't have a way of dealing with poison yet, so we're just going to have to be a bit careful. But hey, let's head down to White Flower Garden. And I really like the design on this cave. It looks very different to the other ones. Because it's this, like, massive metal thing, really. And I believe it has quite nice music. It's one of the big things that I find to be different between this game and like previous Pikmin ones, well, Pikmin 1, is that the music is just much more kind of present and a thing in this game. Pikmin 1's music is just a bit bizarre, and it's like slightly minor and just a bit kind of spooky. Here, it's generally like really good. It's got the little jingles, like when you discover something new, it's like ba-ba-da-da-ba-da. It's just, the music feels like it's more of just a real feature of the game that's hanging around, rather than being a bit of an afterthought. And that really sums up my approaches to the two Pikmin games generally. Of Pikmin 1 feels like a testing ground where they had some cool ideas, and it's done pretty well, but it has some flaws in it. Whereas this is you'll see the treasure detector, they're going mad. This is really the proper expression of that idea. This is done very well. It has few flaws in it. It's the ideal sequel, and it's great. We'll get Olimar ready to hop down to the next floor, and Louis ready to receive a large jar of peanut butter. My various American viewers may be noticing things are in slightly different locations. The PAL, NTSC, and Japanese game have different treasures in slightly different positions. Most of them are the same, but a few are different. I think this one may be the same, I don't know, or it may look different, because brands tend to alter. This is the nutrient silo. But yes, things, especially food things that are like a known brand, tend to differ. So American ones will be American brands, whereas it's a PAL version, so it'll be European brands generally, so I won't necessarily recognise a lot of them. Like there are some which are clearly like German or French or something like that, but it's a European brand rather than an American one. So if you notice any difference in... There is always a treasure in the same location across all three games, but it's not always the same treasure, if you get my meaning. Anyway, with that we can head down to sub-level 2. And we have some new enemies here, which I very much want to not engage with my purple Pikmin. Fuck off you. I'm going to take a crack team of reds, that is all of my reds, with Louis, because here we have a fiery blowhog, and these things will chuck your Pikmin forward like that. Oh! Did he just chuck some of my Pikmin off the edge? That bastard, he didn't quite. Fiery blowhogs also breathe, as the name implies, fire, which is bad for purple Pikmin. Do red Pikmin give a fuck? No, which is brilliant. They are completely fireproof, because you'll notice, well, here I'll chuck them off. But yeah, the fire can hurt me, but it can't hurt my Pikmin. So as long as you use reds cleverly, you're fine. With that all cleared, we're actually pretty good to just proceed. I'll take them back, and then there is treasure in there, which only takes a few to carry, I think. There we go, that should get it moving. Let's get that moving. Everything should be coming back now, and then the final treasure, which is down there, which I think this should also be enough to get moving. Wonderful, everyone's on the move. Let's just find the way out while everything makes its way back to the ship. 2 treasures, 2 corpses. Ah, life is good. So, I'm surprised this actually got back first. For 100 quid, this is the Petrified Heart. Then I think shortly following it should be the other thing. Indeed, for 100 quid, the Quenching Emblem. Drought Ender even. I'm sure there's one called Quenching Emblem, but... So it was Thirst Emblem and there was... Oh, I've got all my things confused. Anyway. Oh! I'm stupid. I just launched a Pikmin off the edge. I thought I was pressing A on the thing. Oh, I've only lost 2 Pikmin in the entire game and that one was me. Ugh. Anyway, down we go. Oh, I'm sad now. So here we get actually a nice wee rest level. There's no enemies on this. But as you will see from the treasurometer in the bottom, there is treasure. But it's treasure of an unusual kind, and now we learn, looking at these, why this is called White Flower Garden, because we have... How can a flower bloom underground, so deep underground, so robustly? How mysterious. This place is conspicuously warm. Could it act as a kind of hothouse for foliage? What an interesting development. The Pikmin look as if they long to be thrown into the flower. And these are ivory candy pop buds. So let's launch a couple of Pikmin into each of these. Much like the violet candy pop buds, they'll take 5 each before withering and spitting out their seeds. If violet candy pop buds produces purple Pikmin, ivory candy pop buds... Incredible. A white Pikmin. It is tiny but looks distinctly swift. Its eyes are an unseemly red. Right with that one. This type of Pikmin was not mentioned in your notes, Olimar. It must be an entirely new type. Our record on this type is certainly a blank page, since a certain captain never documented them. I said certain twice there. You must experiment and make detailed observations for the benefit of future generations. So, we've got a decent number of white Pikmin here. We've got 15. White Pikmin are not quite as useful as purple Pikmin, but they are certainly very useful for a number of key reasons. The main feature they have is it's hinted at by those red eyes. It isn't immediately obvious, but if we come over here, the treasure detector is going wild. Select your white Pikmin and chuck them over here. Amazing. The white Pikmin have unearthed a treasure that was completely buried in the ground. Perhaps these beady red eyes of them allow them to sense objects buried in the dirt. And that is the feature of them, and that is incredibly useful, and only whites can do that. Like, once it's partly exposed, everyone else can help dig it up, but only white Pikmin can detect it in the first place. It is their single most useful feature, and that means treasures that are buried partly underground can only be got by white Pikmin. Which means you should always carry, at minimum, 1 white Pikmin with you, under all circumstances in caves, because otherwise you might miss some very irritating to get hold of treasures. Anyway, I saw a honey wisp flying around there, which I'm going to try and knock out of the sky with some well-aimed Pikmin, which I missed. There we go, there it is again. It'd be nice to be able to... There we go. I'm going to attempt to flower some of these remaining Pikmin, because obviously the purples, the whites that we just got out of the... Candy pop buds are leaves, so making them flower would be great, though they're bloody fast anyway, so it doesn't hugely matter. For 80 quid, this is the Superstick Textile. And that's everything on this floor. I could just hop down to the next floor, but I want to actually gather these guys because, A, I want to, as I mentioned, next to them up. I love how they sing the theme tune. And I think there is actually another honey wisp or two kicking about anyway. I'll keep my eyes up for one. Either way, let's reunite everyone over here. And let's get everyone, as many people as we can, certainly on the nectar. And then another batch here. Or have we actually got everyone? Oh, we've actually got everyone. Wonderful. You'll notice as we start running, white Pikmin are probably the fastest of Pikmin. It's harder to tell when you've got so many flowers, but yeah, whites will, even leaf white Pikmin will very easily keep up with you. Purples, as you see, even when they're flowered, they are still a little slow, but whites are very fast, so extra good to have them flowered up and ready. They have a couple of other abilities we'll see in lower floors, so let's roll. So, dead ahead of us here, we see, well, all around us actually, we see what will be one of the many useful features of the white Pikmin. So I'm going to split my party and take only the whites with Olimar, because these little things here are poison generators. White Pikmin are immune to poison, as are your captains, because they're in environmentally sealed suits. But any other Pikmin will be poisoned by going to these clouds. You can briefly cure them of poison by hitting them with the whistle, but they certainly won't be able to attack the generator in the way that whites can. So generally the way I advise moving in caves is to start off with identify the hazards on the level, split your Pikmin, break any of the hazard generators as much as possible. Sometimes that's an option, sometimes it's not, but at least try and do what you can with the hazards, and then move in afterwards with someone else and collect all the treasure. So now we can get that mushroom. I think it only takes 10 or so to carry. Oh, we actually need to dig it up first. Well, that should do it. And then there's actually another treasure over here, which we can see, which is not at all buried. And I think these are the only two on this floor, so I think everything else I'm about to do is actually just a ruse. But hey, we'll do it anyway. We'll slap everyone on that and get that moving. There's no enemies, obviously, around, so... Oh, there we go, the mushrooms made it back anyway. By anyway, I mean already. So, this is 30 quid, is that it? Well, this is the Toxic Toadstool. Wonderful. And the other treasure has probably one of my favourite names ever. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here, and it's all meaningless. God, I love how easily white Pikmin just keep pace with your captain. It's fantastic. Especially when they're flowered. Yep, cool. This is the thing with it being randomly generated. There can be whole areas where there's fuck all. But yes, wonderful name here. This is... It's German, but it's... The Container of Sea Bounty. But yeah, Haringsfillet happen in Tomatencremen. So it's definitely German. Kleine Schlemmeries, little something. Don't know what that second word even means. But hey, there we go. We got the Container of Sea Bounty, which is a wonderful name, and as you can tell, we are safely ready to move down to the next level because we've got all the treasures. Wonderful. The final level, no less. Now, as I've said, after you've beaten Emergence Cave, every single cave ends with a boss. And as I said with the Empress Bullblacks, less is more when it comes to bosses. So I got 23 Pikmin here, reds. That's... I'm going to take a couple of purples, but not a huge amount. You don't want to take a big army with you here, because you'll just... They become unwieldy and difficult, and you'll just lose them in combat, quite frankly. I don't want to take purples. Okay, I'm just going to take reds for now, actually. This may be a bad move, and it may just really slow this fight down more than anything else. Because that's really the thing. Like, with a small army, it mostly just means you'll take longer to do the same amount of damage. Oh, dude, fucking Christ. Right, okay. Trying to separate these out by throwing is not working well. There we go. Right, Olimar, you stay there with the important Pikmin. Louis, you take the army of... No, they're not going to sacrifice themselves or anything. They're going to have a wonderful time. And the treasure detector is reacting. But when we approach... Introducing the Burrowing Snagret. People who've watched Pikmin 1 remember this thing. You got to fight it by hitting it in the face. If you hit it in the face enough, it will... Wow, we did a lot of damage to it there. That was actually pretty good. I'm going to fart my Pikmin. That's why I call it a fart. And they'll do a decent amount of damage. You can hit his body, but remember the key with the Burrowing Snagret is actually to hit his face. There is one way you can do it. If you get stuck while he's trying to burrow out, which he didn't there, then you'll get some free hits on him, but I didn't get that. But you can try and hit him in the gob there, and they'll deal a decent amount of damage. Otherwise, easy. See, with 20 Pikmin I did that. Less is more when it comes to Pikmin bosses. Always. Well done, Captain Olimar. You defeated that freakish half-bird, half-serpent hybrid. Oh no, don't tell me. That treasure was ingested by that beast, wasn't it? So we got various things we can gather here. How much do things weigh? You weigh 50 and weigh 5. Oh, that should be just... Oh no, not quite enough. Oh, fucking that's irritating. Ugh, well, at least to get that moving back, and, yeah, I'll need a few more Pikmin. Yeah, we lost a couple of reds there, but I would rather lose a couple of reds than a couple of any other colour, quite frankly, just because reds are easy to replace. Like, losing 3 reds, I can replace that with, 1 bulb up on the surface, whereas losing reds or purples, you only get them from candy pop buds down in caves. That is literally the only way to make more of them, so always useful. There's a load of things there which will contain nectar, or they might contain something more useful, so I'm actually going to go and have a look. The head will be worth about 10 or 15, because boss heads usually are. But the main treasure there is the glove that was in it. Let's break some of these manually and see what's in them. Ah, that's it. Oh, there we go. So, this is the 5-man knapsack. Remember how small Olimar and the Pikmin and the people from Archetate are. So this could sleep 5 people successfully. This material looks comfortable. I will use it to patch the boss's flavoured sleeping bag. Seam test conclusive. Crotch stitching successful. The knapsack is complete. When you have an unoccupied time interval, press and hold C to take a nap. Doesn't seem like a useful ability. Actually really can be. A lot of people, the first time they play this game, they're like, well, this seems like complete garbage. But the 5-man knapsack gives you a lot of options. So here's what it does. You press and hold C, as I said, and you'll fall asleep. Nearby Pikmin will grab you and take you back to the onion. The nice thing about all that, or whatever, you'll try and go into it, and you'll bounce off it. But the nice thing about that is, in that meantime, I can basically just be like, right, Olimar, go home. And in that meantime, switch to Louis and control him and have him do something useful. It means you can actually, it's the only way in which you can have Pikmin, have captains move without you having to move them. Granted, you can only move them back to the onion, but it opens up the scope for slightly more automation, and in this game that is really worth anything, really, to have that addition to your automation. So we probably lost about 10 reds there total, well, including that one I yeeted off the side, unfortunately. But let's head back up to the surface. So we got a lot of stuff there, 700 quid's worth. We're nearly 3,000, so nearly 30% way through, which is pretty cool. And that is the cave complete. We got every single treasure in White Flower Garden, which is great. And we got some ivory, some white Pikmin to boot, which is fantastic. And we've still got about a third of the day left in the Awakening Wood, and I do intend to use this. So I'm going to gather everyone here and split them up once again. White Pikmin, you are coming with me, because we've got a very specific use for you here. There is, up here, you'll notice, see now, the treasurometer is reacting. This is a fully buried treasure which only white Pikmin can properly retrieve. Throw them up here onto this flower pot and they'll start digging it up. In the meantime, oh, not in the meantime, oh shit guys, come on. Oh, I'm ignoring that skittering bug running around, and there's various, what they call the little bastards. But, sheer grubs, that's it. Sheer wigs, even. No, they are sheer grubs. They should all be able to get that up relatively easily. I think they can carry it back. With the rest of them, look at those things swarming Olimar, but they literally, as I say, they don't have a way to deal any damage, so they are not a threat at all, the female ones. It's only the purple ones you need to worry about. Here I am going to, as ever, set about half on each thing, build up some... Oh, here we go. They took it back. Wonderful. So this thing is the Pilgrim Bowl, and wow, that brings us to 30% already. We're doing well towards that 10,000 total, absolutely. Brilliant. So I'm going to set these guys getting some sprays back, because always nice, especially if you're planning on facing bosses, which perhaps not for a while, but it's always nice to have at least one or two. Why are you guys? Why the purple's not on this? It's always nice to have a couple of things ready. Oh, go away, purples. I'm about to do something dangerous and poisonous, so I definitely want only whites here. Corpses weirdly go while you're in the cave. We've got the little flag over the cave, which tells us we've got every single treasure in it. White Pikmin, of course, are immune to poison, so they're the only ones that can knock down poison gates. We've not got many of them, so that's going to take a while, but any damage I do to it today will still keep tomorrow, and we are going to be back here tomorrow, so it's handy to use the rest of the day at least to knock that down here. As I say, each plant has 5 on it, so between both of them we will get the full 10. Which will get me another spray, which is always nice to have. Beyond that, I guess we can just gather a few Pikmin numbers, really, is all we can do. Purple Pikmin will always, well, purple or white Pikmin will always bring anything back to either, if they're, like, the only two there are purple and a red is carrying it, so they'll take it back to the red onion. If it's just purple's carrying it, they'll take it back to whichever onion has the fewest Pikmin in it. So they because obviously they can't regenerate themselves, which is the issue. Oh. So, I was watching a Let's Play of Pikmin 1 where someone had this issue constantly, fucking Proton John, that whenever he tried to do marching, it would always hit the sides of the D-pad and zoom the camera. And that never happened to me once over the entirety of Pikmin 1, but it's happening here. Am I using a different remote? I thought I used this red one for that. I might try another one next session and just see. It's only happened a couple of times. But yes, it's always annoying that purples and white can only be produced down in caves, but it does add a different layer of complexity to the game, quite frankly, which is mildly cool. Anyway, I'm going to pluck a few more Pikmin here. How are these guys getting on? They are doing some decent damage to that, excellent, because we'll need to head up there tomorrow morning. Oh, don't throw the purples, you fool. As you can see, because we've never really got to the end of a day normally here, because we've split this one over 2 days, which we would have never done in Pikmin 1, but that's because in Pikmin 1, time always progresses linearly, nothing really slows you down in a day, whereas here, caves do stop that, so it makes me have to think about episode timings slightly more. Hopefully I can get some, oh, wonderful, bit of nectar for a lot of these new leafy boys, which will be great. Hopefully we'll get that fence down. If not, any damage we get on it is fine. But yeah, this is actually the first time, because the first 2 days have specific ending conditions that fire up on them, and this is weirdly on the 4th episode, is the first time we're actually seeing just the normal end of day. Right, now it's saying it's almost sundown, hurry up. So this is giving you a warning. You've still got a fair amount of time, but I'm going to start returning people to the onions instead. Olimar, Louis, the sun will be setting soon. Call all of the Pikmin to you. This planet's native nocturnal lifeforms are ferocious and therefore dangerous. Load your Pikmin into the onion and yourselves into my hull so we can take refuge in low orbit. Pikmin in your squad will enter the onion on their own at day's end, so call them all to you. To manage everyone, I tend to, if I've got the time, try and load them into the onions or the ship manually. But yes, if they are in your party, you will be fine. Oh, have I lost a purple? That's surprising. Obviously, is there one out and about? Right, if we bring up the map, you can actually see where Pikmin are, and I think I actually lost a purple, somewhere during that. Yeah, because I've only got 15 on the field, and they're these 15. Well, we might as well do the final bit of damage as much as we can to this, because basically, when it hits sunset, any Pikmin that are in our party are fine anyway. I tend to, just to make sure everyone's accounted for, put them into the onions. It makes it easier to count, but there's no reason to strictly do that. As long as they're in your party, you're fine. I'm annoyed that I've lost a purple. When did I lose a purple? I don't know. I mean, we'll find out at night time. Well, I won't know when I lost it. I have to check back in the footage from that, but I'll know what it died from, unfortunately. Or I might have accidentally thrown it into an ivory candy pop pod, in which case it won't come up as dead because it turned into a white. Oh, look at that. So, they take down this gate, and you'll notice there are poison generators underneath it, which I'm going to hope to really quickly take down before the end of the day. Come on, guys. Come on. Smash them in. Smash them in. Yes, there we go. Right, let's get everyone in our party. All 15. Wonderful. We're in the party. End of the day comes. Perfectly efficient. God, I'm good at this game. I've said this with Pikmin 1, I'll say it again here. The kind of ant simulator efficiency nature of this means that when you are good at this game and when everything's working well and you're efficient, fuck, it's so satisfying. There is no other game quite like it for just that feeling of, yes, I am king of a wonderful colony. It's brilliant. Anyway, we head up into orbit as ever, and I can skip that cutscene, and time to see what the damage is. Firstly, the actual report. So, obviously, this is the first time we've been into orbit since last episode, so we've got also everything from the Hole of Beasts and everything from Whiteflower Garden. So we've got 2,000 quid's worth because we cleared 2 entire caves, which is pretty good. So we're making good progress. Technically, all my Pikmin went up today, but I'm aware that I lost some along the way, so they're all to battle. Apparently, even including that one I launched off the edge of Whiteflower Cave. I guess that counts as battle. But I must have lost some purpose to that. I'll check on the footage and see if I can find where it is. Olimar, good work so far. I hereby promote you to perennial manager. Press C to divide up work, and to minus to delegate more to your subordinate leader. Hope all goes smoothly. And so there, we're at the end of day 3. I'm not going to, just for time reasons, look up the new stuff in the Picklepedia and the treasures. I'm going to save that until next episode, but thank you very much for watching. Tomorrow we're going to go back into the Awakening Wood, and we've got some more stuff to do behind that poison gate, and now we've got access to white Pikmin. So you'll notice those question marks underneath are potential caves. You'll notice we've done 2 of the caves, and there's 2 more caves there. We've fully cleared those caves, which is pretty good. Next episode, we're not going to be doing any caves next episode. We're just going to be getting some above ground treasures and exploring a bit more of the Awakening Wood. So I hope you'll join me then. Thank you very much, and good day.